Hello, friends, and welcome back to the InterWorld Podcast, where we explore the intersection of personal and collective transformation. My name is Yasha, and I work as a PhD researcher in the field of psychology, as well as a founder of the InterWorld Institute for Inner World Peace. You can learn more about our nonprofit initiatives by going to interworld.org. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with a very dear old friend and soul sister, Alyona Mindlin, as I call her, because we're both Russian, or Alyona Mindlin. And Alyona is a yoga teacher who was actually a lead teacher in a yoga training that I just completed. Alyona is also a facilitator and practitioner of various ceremonial practices and traditions, from sound baths to various earth-based traditions, student of the Indigenous traditions of the world, and also a fellow student of the same Indigenous elders and initiatic schools that we both study in. So I'm very excited and honored to be interviewing Alyona today. I'll share more about, programs we've done together in the past, programs we might collaborate on in the future. But in particular, we want to highlight that Alyona is now also the creator of a brand new course called Awaken the Light Within. And we'll be especially getting to hear a little bit more of a sneak peek what that online course is all about. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Alyona. Hello, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Yasha. What an honor. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's always such a gift to spend more time connecting with a fellow student of initiation and transformative practices. So I'm just really happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm honored to be interviewing you. Thank you for coming on to the podcast and reaching out, responding. Really happy to be doing this. Just to give our listeners a little more context, about who you are and our collaborations. I mentioned that we've worked together in the past. We've been friends about 10 years now. And at the very beginning of our friendship, we hosted you for a Thai massage training, shamanic Thai massage in Boulder, Colorado. It was a very successful program. There were people who went on to become professional body workers after taking that program with us. So that was a very fun one. And also, I know that we both work with some of the same Mayan elders, Hunikuin tradition. You've hosted Yuba for tours and internationally, and also are students of a Taino elder, Maestro Manuel. So we'll get to talking about all of that, but I just want to invite you to share a little bit about yourself and your journey, what's brought you to this point of creating this course and kind of how you see it aligning with your mission in the world for those of us that are first hearing about your work.
Thank you so much for that question. I think that, it started for me with my mom. When I was younger, our family was very, very spiritual, not religious, but very spiritual. And I remember being 5 and my mom and I at the beach, just raising our hands and catching the sun. And that was one of my first lessons that I felt really deeply, that brings tears to my eyes a little bit. It's like, okay, now we're going to reach our hands and we're going to connect with the energy of the sun and then bring the energy of the sun into your body. And of course, sun worship is something that has happened in ancient Egypt, in India, all over the world. We worship the sun because the sun awakens the light within. And since then, and I remember a trip to Disney World when I remember being in the car with my parents. And of course, I was really enthusiastic. And I started to feel my energetic body awakening. And it was quite a fierce experience. Some people may say, oh, my Kundalini awakening. I didn't feel that way at all, nor do I feel that way now. But what I experienced sounds similar to what people express. And I remember just going through this experience in the car, really feeling my energetic body. And this was a way of bringing me closer to be curious about the practices that actually teach that, right? And so I remember when I was in school at NYU, I was having a little bit of a tough time just being in the city and being an older teenager. I was having a tough time. I wasn't super happy. I was struggling a bit. And I met a friend of mine and she took me to my first yoga class. I was 19. And I remember being in a twist to the right side and just acknowledging the power and the beauty and the simplicity of this practice, and that I would practice it for the rest of my life. And in that moment, it was very clear that that was a really big part of my mission. And so now it's 20 years later. So there's been lots of practice, lots of study, and lots of sharing. And something that I've noticed is just how extremely beneficial the yoga sciences are. And they're beneficial in a layered way. So the more you practice, the longer you practice, the more you see the benefit. But you also get an enormous amount of benefit just practicing for an hour. And then I realized, wow, actually you get an enormous amount of benefit just practicing for 5 minutes. And so this is where really the course came from, is because I feel that people want to study from all different kinds of levels, and it's really important as teachers and as students to meet our friends and our students where they are. You know, somebody's going to sign up and say, you know what, I really want to go deeper. I want to study with you for a couple of years. I want to do a teacher training. I want to really go deep into these sciences and understand myself from within. I want to find that divine spark that God left in me. And somebody's going to come in and say, you know what, I'm really depressed and I want to feel better and I got 5 minutes. Can you help me? And the answer should be yes on all sides. So this course is made for everyone because of how short the practices are, how simple they are, and how immediately effective they are.
Hmm.
And it was really sweet this year, in the year of creating Awaken the Light Within. I often used the system that I was creating to support myself instead of doing an hour and a half yoga practice. Instead of doing all of my other practices, I would use the system. And the practices are amazing. They work every time. So,
Hmm.
yeah, really
Beautiful.
happy to share.
Amazing. Yeah, that already brought up so much. I love what you're sharing. I feel like I want to commend you for creating this course and the way that you're presenting it. Sounds like a really deep form of service to benefit people, to bring something valuable and meaningful to help them in their lives. And I remember reading the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva years ago, and it talking about alleviating both the short term and long term causes of suffering and giving both the short term and long term causes of happiness. And it sounds like that's what the course is for, is small problems and big problems and addressing them with practical, time tested tools. So that's the best service anyone can provide. So yeah, respect for that. And I want to invite you to just really introduce the specifics the way that you started to, for me off camera. Just what is the course? What's it called? What's it about? What's included? Since we're on that at the moment, I'd love to hear more about it.
Sure. So the course is called Awaken the Light Within. And it's called Awaken the Light Within because we all have so much light inside. And sometimes it's just stuck, or it's not accessed because we're not moving, or we're not breathing, or we're not doing those things consciously, or our mind is somewhere else as we're drinking water, or we're somewhere else as we're on our yoga mat, or we're just somewhere else. the point of the course is to bring us back into our own consciousness. And even just few moments of that immediately makes us feel lighter, unstuck, more open, more connected to the divine inside. And it's broken up into 4 pieces: air, fire, water, and earth, simply because those elements make up life. And it's just another conscious reminder that, okay, these are the elements that make up life. This is what's all around me, this is within me, and I want to honor that and connect with that. The air module is perhaps the most about air because, of course, we can stop eating, we can stop drinking, but if we stop breathing, that's it. We leave our body. So in the air module, we have different breath-based practices to help us be more alert, help us be more joyful, help us relieve any anxious feelings, any sad feelings, and awaken our true creativity and our true divine essence. More than anything, to awaken our true divine essence, which has so much creativity and potential. And the fire-based practices have a little bit more movement, have a little bit more ways to strengthen and awaken the energy within. For example, there's a Bandha practice there that it's called Uddiyana Bandha, the flying up block. If you've practiced yoga, you know it. I'm not saying anything new to you. But that practice is so ancient, and it was secret before. You couldn't get your hands on it unless you unless you had a direct connection with a teacher. And now, of course, in the internet age, you can find anything you want. But the practice is truly powerful because it really gives us a lot more energy. It really connects us to the energy within, and everybody that I speak to is seeking energy, you know? And there's a lot of energy zappers we have around now, especially being in so much relationship to digital technology, which is absolutely incredible. And if we abuse it, our energy gets really stuck. And that's something that's so new for humanity, to know what thousands of people are doing. We never knew that before. What millions of people are doing at just like the flip of a switch. So it's a lot that we're taking on emotionally, mentally, energetically that we never did before. And so the practices are just to bring us back to ourself. Then there's water-based practices which connect to the water element, of course, and being in a more conscious relationship to it, connecting with it, speaking to it, maybe hearing it speak back to us. There's a dancing flow there as well. There's connecting with the sacred medicine of cacao in a conscious and beautiful way. The earth-based practices are about being able to meditate while walking, being able to within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, establish a deeper connection to your nature by being out and about. So yeah.
So I think you mentioned that there are a total of 22 practices rooted in sacred traditions from around the world, which just sounds very exciting. You also were describing it as ultimately a course in good habits, which I love because our habits kind of make up our experience of life and who we are over time. So rehabituating ourselves is one of the most powerful tools of our transformation. And yeah, it just sounds like an amazing way to tap into our potential and get out of our own way, unblock ourselves and grow. So that when we're facing challenges, we have the energy it takes to overcome them. So yeah, I'm excited to learn more about it. And I love that you're using the 4 elements as a model to base the modules on, because as you might know, perhaps, my dissertation research is on the four elements as they appear in different traditions all over the world. So I literally just finished writing peer-reviewed, edited 400-page book that's getting published right now on the elements. That's what my research was all about. So near and dear to my heart, the structure that you used, of course, in many ways influenced by the traditions and the teachers we study with. But this is a very universal phenomenon, just like you said, with sun worship. And it's so universal because it's rooted in reality, just like with the sun itself. You know, I was thinking as you were speaking about sun worship, I love how you started there, because it's so obvious that the sun is like this vibrant, bright, luminous, powerful phenomenon that gives us life. And sometimes as humans, we go around thinking, you know, where are the aliens, and is there intelligence, extraterrestrial life out there, or artificial intelligence and different forms of intelligence? But to me, it seems so funny that we would think that the sun is not intelligent and alive when we depend on it for our own existence every single day. So it's kind of funny to think that we are smart, the sun's a dumb object, and yet science has proven, even in modern culture, not just traditions from all over the Americas and the rest of the world since forever ago, but now we know, yeah, like the movement of the wind, the air we can breathe, the clouds, the rain, the waters, all of it is ruled by the sun. Just the air we breathe, the water of life, everything that sustains our existence, all the plant growth from photosynthesis, it's that we eat, all of it's from the sun. Literally, our whole existence depends on it. So it's kind of hilarious to be these tiny children on this little planet ruled by the power of the sun every single day, completely dependent on it, and be like, oh well, it's an object and we're the smart ones. It's a really funny perspective, human perspective of consciousness. So anyways, that's what came up for me when you mentioned the sun worship. But it's this universal thing, just like the elements. So yeah, it sounds like your whole course is based in that same perspective, that there are practical, real tools that work universally for humans, from all over and throughout time, and that you're, as a student and facilitator of those practices, simply putting them together and bringing them forward in a way that you can share and that people can really benefit from. So thank you for doing that. And I want to ask you too, if you could share a little bit about your relationship to sound and music, because I know that you are starting to perhaps create some more original music right now, and that you're a long time, explorer of sound waves and creativity through sound. So if you want to speak to that as well, please do. Yeah. Mm. And maybe give us a little bit of a taste of, where you're headed with that. What are you working on these days with music and exploring?
Well, first, I just want to congratulate you for your amazing project and your amazing dissertation. Writing 450 pages is not just like that, you know. So, congratulations for all the work that it took you to get there, and all of the sleepless nights and the full days, and every little aspect that you had to move through as a human and learn as a human in order to create that. So, congratulations on becoming a more wise person by writing that, and I hope it can also benefit many.
Thank you.
Music. Well, sound makes up the sound is healing, right? Sound is was the first healing technology. And I would say that I'm, first a student of yoga, second a student of sound, and so I'm younger in my explorations, but I've had such amazing teachers along the way. Maestro Manuel inspired us to, always be a part of Dream Seed when I lived at the Golden Drum, and all of the all of the Dream Seed folks have been just wonderful, wonderful teachers for me. And Currently, I feel just really connected to expressing my love for the divine. And so the music that's coming through me and the prayer that I've had is that the music comes through me is a bit like a love poem to the divine. So that is, and to nature, of course, and to everything that the divine has created and every place that the divine touches, which is everything. So that's my journey, and yeah, I look forward to expressing and to having some shows here in Bali. This place is very open, very supportive for creatives and for musicians, and so
Yeah.
yeah, forward to it.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. Maybe we'll collaborate on music too, long distance somehow. Um, yeah, I'm excited for you. I also, you mentioned Bali. We didn't say this in the introduction. You're based in Bali. You're the second guest that we've had on the podcast. I love because it's called InterWorld Podcast, and I love interviewing friends from all over the world. And you're literally on the exact opposite side. It's nighttime here and morning there. Speaking of the sun, and yeah, and so I last time I one of the last times we saw each other, you were living in London. Other times have been New York, Colorado, and now Bali with your husband Xian, who I hope someday to have on the podcast too with his projects. So congratulations on your move. Perhaps Paige and I can come visit at some point. And yeah,
Please.
excited to have another friend on Bali. It seems like such a magical place. And as a fellow ceremonialist, I hear that there's constant local ceremony of some sort or another happening all the time. That must be really beautiful to witness. So yeah, actually, in the spirit of that, whether you want to speak to your experience of living in Bali or not, I want to invite you to share what called you to working with earth-based ceremonial traditions in particular, and the indigenous lineages of the world and different regions all around the world, but that indigeneity and that earth-based spirituality in particular. What's your relationship been to that? How have you grown through that over time and found that that's benefited your path, that kind of work?
When I was around 15 years old, I started to really connect deeply to the plants and the plants as teachers in my dream world and in living reality. I started to remember something from some other moment, perhaps another incarnation somewhere. And I received the message that I would be studying that for my life, just the same way that I received the message on the yoga mat that I would be practicing and teaching that for the rest of my life. And some of the when I wasn't doing well in school, when I was at NYU and I got into a place that I was really not a happy camper. What brought me back to feeling joyful and full of light and beauty was the deep connection with plants and, and hugging trees and really connecting to them as beings that share a lot of wisdom, that carry an enormous amount of courage and strength and beauty. And plants in the same way, so just recognizing them for who they are, not just like this thing that's on the street that's pretty, that's giving me oxygen. I mean, a lot of times we don't even recognize it as that, but going beyond that and really recognizing them as my friends, and that really totally shifted my reality, just being closer to nature and being more connected to nature. And of course, the indigenous traditions are all about being really deeply connected to nature in a consistent way. It's like nature is not separate. Nature, we are nature. And I think that that was the root of my sadness, is that I felt this separation. And nature taught me that it wasn't the case. And so, yeah, I think that that's how I got into it. And then, of course, shortly after, I met our amazing elder, Maestro Manuel Rufino, and the whole community. And it, I received so much just by being in community and nature and being in reciprocal relationship to each other, to nature, and to sound. There was a lot of Indigenous that came to the drum, and we hosted many festivals. The Heart and Mind Festival that Maestro seated, and of course the community helped to put together. And I was so much a part of hosting the Indigenous consistently and taking care of them. And it was such a gift and such an honor to just welcome them and make breakfast, because most of the teachings that I received were there.
Mm-hmm.
And ask me another question
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess while we're on the topic, I did have one more. It's kind of the direction you were already going with it. I wanted to ask you about the role of elders in your experience in these traditions that you've studied with and encountered and supported and so on. What is this importance of lineage all about in your experience? What kind of teachings do you get from that?
I think that the role of elders is to remind us almost ancient wisdom that we have somehow forgotten, because everything that I have received from an elder, most of the time somewhere inside of me that was already alive. They just transmitted it in another way that it became more embodied. I think the role
Mm-hmm.
of elders is also to, in the Indigenous traditions, there was no there were no books or literature, so everything was passed from, of course, as you also know, from mouth to ear. And our elder always says that passed from mouth to ear in silence. So it's to remind us and teach us and to guide us through things that they have already been through, that maybe turning right would be better. Although you may really want to go left, maybe right would be more harmonious. And I'll just share like some of the sweetest teachings that I received from our dear friend and elder Yubuhani Quinn. As you see, whenever they say hello, they say "How's how's, so alegria, muita gratidão," and at first you just receive that as that, but actually the alegria is so deeply embedded that there's so many layers to that teaching, and it just keeps going and it just keeps getting deeper. The joy and the gratitude just keeps getting deeper. And so for one tour, that is really what I received, so much that we decided our last name would be Alegria. So now I'm Alyona Alegria. And for the second tour, it was Tudo Tranquilo, which is everything is chill. It's like, yeah, we believe everything is chill, but when everything is not chill, everything is still chill.
Mm.
But embodied in a way that is really truthfully constant. They embody that constantly, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what happens. And I've seen, we've been through many all kinds of situations, many kinds of things potentially not going the way that maybe I thought was right. But it's okay. It was all in the name of the divine mystery, and it was all flowing just perfectly as it was.
Mm.
And so really being able to in the moment transmit that for me has been the role of the elders, is like in real life embody the fullness of the teaching and transmit it so that you can eat it and begin to own it yourself.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. I love it. I feel like what I'm hearing you refer to many spiritual and esoteric traditions call in one way or another, in one language or another, transmission, right? It's a direct transmission, whether it's through words or silence or books or, in Tibet, they might call it twilight language. In India, something else. In South America, they might call it the mighty D. There's different terms for this transmission of power or energy directly from a teacher to a student. But as you said, it's like this invitation to embody wisdom when it's challenging, not just theoretically, know all the information and say that we're happy and chill, but to witness what it means to actually maintain that deeper happiness and that deeper calm in the face of discomfort, in the face of when things supposedly don't go our way or we supposedly make some sort of mistake, how to just keep flowing and growing and learning from the process and embrace the whole experience and even go towards the edges of the discomfort and the challenges so that we can keep growing. And that, I think, is like the real wisdom, right? Not just this symbolic knowledge, but the embodied knowledge that they seem to emanate in this kind of non-conceptual direct transmission to the next generation to carry forward through their life experience and their wisdom. So thank you for reminding us of that beauty of the teachers of the world traditions and that way that they transmit that depth of wisdom. I'm very grateful, as I know you are, to have had such a special and rare opportunity in this life to have so much contact with actually a number of quite inspiring and realized beings and people with both a lot of soul experience that can be empowering and I can relate to, but also a lot of life experience too that know what it means in a grounded sense to walk the talk. So yeah, thank you for bringing those reminders to the conversation here. I also want to mention, as we start to come full circle with our episode, that you currently are hosting your course on Kajabi, and one of the main projects of our nonprofit right now is building a whole global hybrid academy, a hybrid holistic academy. And it's hybrid because we have online courses as well hosted directly through InterWorld's own online campus. We're launching a Chinese medicine course soon, some of my own research courses and other guests, Blue Murian's even teaching music production on this, our school. So we're going to explore ways to help share your educational content that you're creating and have some sort of win-win bridges and symbiotic bridges that we can build with the work that you're doing, beginning to teach this educational content. So also we'll host a pretty big festival this October. I haven't been promoting it quite yet. This is one of the first announcements. But I know that you'll probably come visit us at some point in the future and maybe teach some yoga within the yoga school we'll be developing in the long run and so on. So I'm excited for those future collaborations to reveal themselves. And yeah, I do have maybe one or so last questions, but I also want to give you a chance if there's anything else you want to mention before I ask my last couple questions that you want to make sure you speak to while we're still on air, then about whether it's the topics we've already discussed or something else, then feel free, or ask anything, whatever you want to bring in. Yeah.
I feel like as humans, we have an enormous amount of potential and creative power. Our beautiful elder has a song. Creator wants you to develop the power of creation. I don't know how it sounds with this mic, but the main idea is the message. And don't wait. That's the message. It's just like, don't wait to create and don't wait to pick up a practice. Don't wait to pick up a practice that's going to uplift your life. That's the message, because it happens fast. It happens fast. You can go from being stuck, being unhappy, being nervous, being whatever, feeling like you're, not in the best shape, or anything that you feel is limiting you from being your best self, don't wait to eat better. Don't wait to create. Don't wait to go sweat. Don't wait to fast. Don't wait to do one of the practices or all of them from my course or somebody else's. Don't wait to live. Just do it. I think that's my message.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a perfect message. I'm glad you brought it. It's essential. Don't wait, just do it. I mean, that I think that is a very important meditation, because sometimes in our world we're distracted, short attention span, jumping from thing to thing, um, and so sometimes we act impulsively because of that conditioning. But if we center ourselves, become present, and take a moment to get clarity on what our actual next action is meant to be, what insight we gain of where we are going, then as soon as we get that, it's essential to keep that focus and to move forward with it. Once we know where we're going and the right way to go, then as soon as that clarity comes, it's important not to hesitate, not to delay and keep second guessing and reconsidering, but to act on it and have courage and daring to move forward. So yeah, I resonate with that. It's something I meditate on a lot. It's because in some ways I tend to be really slow, in other ways I tend to be really fast and do all the different things all at once. So turtle is one of my power animals, and I know we probably sound like a couple of you know woo woo power animals, tree hugging people. And when you were talking about hugging trees, I realized that I should mention for our listeners that I know Alyona very well, and I can vouch as a longtime friend that you do not just hug trees, superficially. You really go for it. Alyona stops and talks to the plants and calls them names, and makes close friends with the non-human world. So um, yeah, that it's a very embodied practice for you. um, but anyways, I had one or two last questions. So I want to ask you, you've been both a student and a teacher, for instance, of traditions like yoga in particular. And I'm curious if you could share about that journey, what you learn as a student of a practice like yoga, and how that transition and initiation into sharing the practice and being a yoga teacher differentiates, how that flow from one to the other has given you different types of insights at different stages.
Or the practice is so beautiful. Every time I've been in front of any teacher, I've always received something so special in that moment and also for my life. And it may have been something that was already in there. But again, if it gets a little bit more embodied, it's actually almost a new lesson. So the what I received the most, I think, from being in front of teachers is being in their pace and really slowing down deeply, which is what's needed so much for all of us. It's just slowing down and coming into our parasympathetic nervous system. It allows you to go actually a lot faster. Whenever I've done that, and I do practice pretty much every day. I mean, our elder would say you should be practicing all day every day, because the practice is way beyond the mat itself. But on the mat, you do learn how to be a better person off the mat. And also because your nervous system becomes more in alignment with your true nature, more calmer, there's somehow more possibility to do many more things in this life with ease and with creativity. You can accomplish many more tasks, I've noticed. The days that I have an amazing practice, I accomplish many more things than the days I did not.
Mm-hmm.
Being in front of teachers has always taught me more presence, because I'm just there to receive. And it's always been a really beautiful, again, transmission of a deeper presence. You know, everything else, everything with the postures. Yes, I've learned so many things that I can do many episodes on that. But in terms of what really lands in life, how to be more generous, more compassionate, and the practice itself always makes me more joyful, more happy, and more generous in general. Because when I give to myself, then I have much more to give to others. If I don't feed myself first, how can I feed anyone else? And so
Mm.
that's been some of the roots of the consistent teachings as a student. And there's so many layers as a student as well. Again, so I'll share something that I've never publicly shared before with a lot of joy because I'm fully on the other side of it. When I first went into yoga, the doctor told me that I was clinically depressed. And the practice of yoga, along with connecting with nature, fully brought me out of that at 100%. And I've noticed that being on the mat for however long I could be, that day was always better, always better, always better, emotionally, energetically, mentally, in every way. It's just like a fully upgraded being, you know? It's like, do you want to be an upgraded being? Okay, just practice on the mat. For me, that's what I constantly received. It wasn't once, twice, it's just constant. It's what it gives. And I think as a teacher, for me, something that took me into these states more deeply is how the physical alignment touched the energetic alignment, and how being in a certain particular alignment of a posture energetically aligned me and opened my heart or opened my intuition more, and how I felt that those points being touched and open in my body. And so as a teacher, I was aiming for that, and or am aiming for that. And you can always see it in the student as they slightly make an adjustment. You can see their whole structure change, their whole energy shift. And that's what I, as a teacher, am very often looking for, because that's what creates the reset into the parasympathetic nervous system, and just makes us happier, more joyful, more productive, more loving, more brighter beings.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
the last thing I'll share is when I teach yoga, it feels like I'm practicing yoga. When I teach, it's just another it's another yoga practice, because I get to dive into the practice more deeply. So that's another really beautiful aspect. And yeah, I love it very much. What can I say? Such a beautiful ancient tool that I'm so happy to learn, continue learning, and deliver. And I'll just share a, another piece that, most recently I met the beautiful elder Paramahamsa Vishwananda, and such a beautiful, truly powerful being. And I feel like since meeting him, my relationship with the divine has just grown even more, because it was already growing with the kiss of Maestro Manuel and all of the Indigenous elders, but it just became something more constant with his connection, something more present and more lived in 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 every moment. So that's been like an upgrade of the personal practice for me recently.
Mm. Beautiful. Well, uh, I know that we could go on forever, and hopefully there'll be another conversation in the future, but this has been such a wonderful conversation already. This episode really brought in not just the regular topics of yoga and music and Indigenous traditions, but this special resonance and focus on having teachers in our lives, having contact with various luminous souls, and the power that their transmission provides as an influence in taking responsibility for our own path as people, and then ultimately also leading us to take initiative to share what we have practiced and learned ourselves with others as educators as well in the world to help benefit those who we come in contact with these same practices. And so I really appreciate this element of lineage and of teaching and learning and education that this episode's centered around, both with our honoring of the elders we know and also have crossed paths with, and also with the course that you have coming up. So excited for people to take that, awaken the light within, and I hope that it does just that. It sounds like your light has been blossoming wonderfully in Bali with your husband, and I know it's a wonderful place to be, so I can't wait to come check it out. And yeah, until next time, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you, Yasha.
Peace.